In this video, I'm going to share 5 common beginner mistakes with you, which apply to a lot of print-on-demand and merch by Amazon sellers, which are just starting out. So make sure to watch until the end of the video, because some of these mistakes might be holding you back from getting more sales or being successful. Mistake number 1, which I used to do a lot when I started out, and I still see people doing this all the time, and it's creating generic designs. Now, what do I mean by this? I often get messages from people saying, I've been selling on merch by Amazon for 2 or 3 months. I've not had a single sale. What am I doing wrong? And then when I look at their designs, oftentimes the design is extremely generic in the sense that maybe it's Christmas themed and it says Merry Christmas. It has a few nice Christmas graphics on there and it's overall like a nice looking design, but it is just way too generic. Who really wants to buy a t-shirt that says Merry Christmas? Put yourself into the customer's shoes. There's so many options out there for Christmas designs, and there's lots of funny t-shirts. There's very specific t-shirts for certain people that like a certain hobby. Something that literally just says Merry Christmas is not going to stand out. You're targeting millions and millions of people. Literally everyone who's looking for a Christmas shirt, Merry Christmas would apply to. So Amazon also doesn't know who to actually show your design to, because it's not very targeted. So if you niche down, if you find specific niches, and then within that niche create something unique that's maybe even cross-niche with another topic, has a funny phrase on there, you have a way more specific audience. It's easier for Amazon to target that audience if you have the right keywords. Your design is also more unique and original than a very generic phrase or a very generic graphic that millions of other designs have as well. Another way in which this mistake might apply to you is if you follow trends and you always copy the best seller within those trends. Now, maybe this isn't a very generic design because there's only a few hundred or a few thousands of them out there, but if you're copying the best seller, then you're making life really hard for yourself, because once again, put yourself into the customer's shoes. What if there is 10 options of the same product? It looks exactly the same or nearly the same, but one of those products has a lot of reviews. Well, almost every customer is going to say, I'll pick that product with the reviews. And your new t-shirt that looks exactly like the other product with 0 reviews will just be left in the dust. So if you're going after trends, rather than just copying the best seller, try and create a unique design that maybe still has the same phrase as the best seller, but make it look different, give it a different layout. Once again, maybe cross-niche it with another topic so it is a bit more original and doesn't target the exact same audience, or maybe use a different t-shirt color. Maybe make the design optimized for lighter t-shirts and have a white one in the thumbnail. That way it stands out among the 9 other shirts which are black. So you really have to think outside the box a little bit and put yourself into the customer's shoes, because if they see a product that is quite different from all the other ones, then even though it might have 0 reviews, you will at least catch their eye and get them thinking about that product and say, well, yes, that design has more reviews, the trending one, the bestseller, but this product, I actually like the layout of it better, or it speaks to me more because it's cross-niched with this certain topic that I like. Rather than creating generic copies of what's doing well, use them as inspiration and come up with your own original ideas based on what's working for other people. Mistake number 2 is expecting results after just 1 month of work and creating a relatively small amount of designs. This is something that I see a lot of people saying, that they've put in some work, they've created some designs, but even after a month has passed, they've not had any sales. The reality is that your first designs are going to be your worst. Not just the designs, but also the listing and the niches that you found. I saw a really good analogy for this recently, or a good example, whereas let's imagine you've never played basketball before, you're not naturally talented at it, but you get the chance to play with the best basketballer in the world, and he shows you how to throw the ball properly to, have the highest chance of hitting the basket. He shows you all of his techniques, and you start throwing the ball. Do you think you're going to hit the basket just because he showed you? Of course not. Maybe you'll throw it 100 times and you'll hit it 5 times out of those 100, but because you've never played basketball before, you need that repetition and that practice to get to a certain level of hitting the basket more consistently. This obviously applies to many things in life, including print on demand. Even if someone shows you how to do it properly, your first attempts are going to be bad. That's just the reality. Yes, some people might be lucky and get a lot of sales in the first couple of months, but for most people it's not going to be the case. You also have to realize that with print on demand, the stuff that you upload, it oftentimes just doesn't sell in the first month. It's still the same case for me, where the new designs that I created in October, they're not really selling much. Maybe like a couple of them, but I've created hundreds of designs. I'm expecting to sell them at some point in the future, at least a fraction of them, but for now, like straight away, nothing's really been selling. It's very, very normal. It takes some time for the marketplaces to index your products, to show the products to customers, to figure out, well, the algorithm figures out which customers are interested, which ones aren't, and then eventually you'll get your first sale and maybe some more regular sales afterwards. But in your first month of uploading designs, it's very unlikely to get sales, especially if they are your first designs ever, which are probably terrible. I'm sorry to say that, I don't mean to offend anyone, but that's just how it is. When you're starting out with stuff, you need to still put in the reps to gain the experience, to get better, and to have a higher chance of getting sales with the things that you create. Moving on to mistake number 3, we've got a very important one, which in my opinion not enough people talk about, and that is that you shouldn't ignore trademarks. I wanted to point this out because when I started with my Merch by Amazon account, I ignored trademarks. I didn't realize that they're important. I started getting rejections from my designs, but I didn't really pay attention to it, and I thought it's not a problem. But once I realized that you can get your Merch by Amazon account terminated if you get too many rejections. Terminated means you don't get it back, you can't create a new account. That's when I realized I really have to take this serious. The thing is, right, trademarks, they are a really dry topic. They're really annoying and time consuming, but you shouldn't ignore them. I did make a video about how trademarks work and about different methods of how to check for trademarks more efficiently and quickly, and I highly recommend checking that video out because I still constantly get questions from people. Is this word safe? Is this phrase safe? Can I upload this on my designs? You just need to educate yourself. I can't always answer the question for you. You'll have to learn how to do it yourself, learn how it works, because if you don't, then you highly risk losing your Merch by Amazon account, which would be very terrible because that's sort of the highest potential in terms of getting sales in the print on demand space. Now, for other marketplaces, you still have to watch out for trademarks. You can still get into trouble, but the likelihood of getting your accounts terminated due to a trademark is not as high. That's why maybe you can be a bit more loosey-goosey with it and not pay too much attention, but on merch it is very, very important. So anyone who's selling on merch, and especially if you're just starting out, please educate yourself. Check out the content policy as well. That's another important part to not losing your Merch by Amazon account. Make sure that you're safe, you're not constantly getting rejections, and then you should be fine. Mistake number 1 is a very common one, not just among beginners, but I think among people in general, and that is that you shouldn't compare yourself to people that are ahead of you. I know there's a lot of YouTube videos where people share their recent sales or their income reports, and yes, those videos are fine in the sense that they show you what's possible with print on demand and they can be motivating. But I think for most people watching, especially those who are getting less sales, it's often either demotivating or it makes you feel really low and like you're not going to reach that same sort of level of sales. What you should be realizing is that comparing yourself with other people is a game that you can't win, because no matter how good you get, no matter how many sales you get, even if you get to tier 20,000, there's always going to be people that are doing better, getting more sales, are in a higher tier, and you will always feel demotivated by comparing yourself with others. The thing that you should be focusing on instead is comparing yourself with yourself. Let's say you look back half a year and you notice that now you're getting twice as many sales a month than you did half a year ago. That is a really good comparison, and it should be really motivating, and it should also be what you're focusing on. Now, for beginners, this can be hard because that sort of progress, you usually see that more long term. If you've only been going for like 1 or 2 months, then obviously you don't have much data to compare yourself to. But in general, definitely don't compare yourself with others. There's always someone doing better, always someone doing worse than you. So comparison is the thief of joy. You don't really get many benefits from it unless you're just sort of laughing down on people who are doing worse than you, which also doesn't really help you. So try and improve, especially if you're comparing yourself to your former self and your sales are going down, then you obviously are doing something wrong and you should change strategies or invest in some tools or just educate yourself further, watch more YouTube videos, watch some courses maybe. That way you can then ensure that your progress comes back up. I hope this helps you. Definitely don't make the mistake and keep comparing yourself. You're probably not going to benefit from it. And the final mistake that I think a lot of people make is feeling held back by a low tier on Merch by Amazon, because obviously when you're in a low tier you can't really upload very much and you have to wait and be patient until you finally get those sales. And even if you hit the sales target, it still takes quite some time to then get tiered up, which I totally understand is really frustrating. I was there. Everyone starts at tier 10. I definitely know how it feels, but you shouldn't let this hold you back. There is so many other marketplaces out there that sell print-on-demand products, and yes, obviously the potential is highest on Merch, but if you're in tier 10, it's not. There's still a lot of time and work to be put into it until that potential is higher. In your case, if you're just selling on Merch by Amazon, you really should start with another website such as TeePublic or Spreadshirt or Redbubble. That's the platforms that I would recommend. Pick at least one of those, create an account. I will leave the links to them in the description so that you can quickly access the sites. Essentially, why you want to do this is because, one, you will get in more practice and repetition, because there you're not limited in terms of how many designs you can upload, only on a daily basis, but it's going to be hard to hit like 50 designs per day uploaded anyway. But basically, you can create more designs, you can improve your design skills that way. Remember the basketball quote, you keep throwing the ball, eventually you'll learn how to hit the target better. You can really do that with those sort of other marketplaces. The other good thing about this is that once you do finally get tiered up on Merch by Amazon, you will already have a lot of designs ready to upload, and you will also potentially know which ones of them might get you sales on Merch because they've maybe already sold on Redbubble or on TeePublic, and then you can create more designs in that specific niche or of that specific style, and therefore increase the likelihood of getting more sales in the future. There's really no downside to starting with another platform other than it takes a bit more time, but it should really be there for you if you're still in tier 10 or tier 25 on Merch by Amazon. Don't let it hold you back. Yes, it's annoying, I totally get it, but there's more marketplaces out there that still have potential to get a decent amount of sales. So I hope you found this video helpful and you can stop making these beginner mistakes. And if you're currently stuck in tier 10 on Merch by Amazon, then make sure to check out this video next, where I share multiple tips with you of how to get tiered up faster.